So we've seen relations. Relations are any set of ordered pairs. So what is a function? Now, a function is a special type of relation. And we saw in those relations above that some of them, there were multiple different input values that gave the same output value, multiple different first values that gave the same second value, and in some there were ones that had one first value that had multiple different second values to go with it. Now, a function is one of these ones where there's some constraints on that. So a function is a relation where each element in the domain maps to exactly one element in the range. And what that means is that if we have an element in the domain, we know exactly which element in the range it's going to go to. So we're not going to have examples where there's an element in the domain that goes to lots of different values in the range. It's fairly easy to check for this. We can check for it in different ways. Either if we've got a list, there's no two ordered pairs that have the same first element and a different second element, because then it wouldn't map exactly to one element. Another way to think about this is for each x value, there is only one possible y value. So when x is 1, there is only one possible y value that can go with that. But notice not necessarily the other way around. We can have multiple, so for one y value, we can have multiple x values that give it, that's okay. But for each x value, there is only one possible y value. And graphically, we can use what's called the vertical line test. The vertical line test is you imagine drawing vertical lines across all of the graph, and if at any point a vertical line would cross the graph more than once, it is not a function. And we'll have a look at what that means, or what that looks like in the examples in a moment. So let's think some examples of functions. So first of all, in set notation, we could have something like 1, 4, 2, 7, 3, 10. That is a relation, and each element of the domain goes to exactly one thing in the range. A non-example would be something like 1, 4, 1, 5, 2, 6. Now this is not a function. It is a relation, it's a set of ordered pairs, but it's not a function because 1 maps to multiple different y values. So that is not a function because the one value, the 1 in the domain appears multiple times. It maps to multiple different y values. In a table, we could have had something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and this maps to 1, 1, 2, 2. Now this is a function. Each x value maps to exactly one y value. 1 maps to 1, 2 maps to 1, 3 maps to 2, and 4 maps to 2. That's fine that there are repeated y values because there are no repeated x values. So this is a function. On the other hand, if we had 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is not a function. Because 1 maps to different things. 1 maps to 1 and 1 maps to 2. So there is not only one value that 1 can go to. And similarly for 2. 2 can do 3 and 2 can also go to 4. So this is a relation, but it is not a function. Now let's think about graphically what this might look like. So graphically, we might have something like a cubic function that looks something like this. Now, if you imagine vertical lines dropping down here, no matter where we draw this vertical line, it's only ever going to cross the graph once. That's the vertical line test. So this passes the vertical line test. That means it is a function. And the reason for that is if I choose an x value anywhere along here, I go up the vertical line till I hit the graph, and there's only one possible thing it can be. On the other hand, if we had something like this, a sort of parabola on its side, and I drew a vertical line, this vertical line hits the graph twice. So this doesn't pass the vertical line test, this fails the vertical line test. So this is not a function. And the reason for that is because at this value here, this x value here, there are two different y values I could have got. So it's not a function because there are two different y values attached to a single x value. Before we also saw relations defined as just a set of coordinates of points. We could have something like this would be absolutely fine. Every x value goes to exactly one y value. There are no repeats. We could even do a vertical line test here through every point on the domain. The vertical line crosses only once. On the other hand, something like this does not pass the vertical line test because at this point here, and even at this point here, and indeed at this point here, a vertical line would hit points twice. This value of x has two possible y values. Same with this value of x, it has two possible y values. So this is a relation, but not a function. So hopefully that has made it very clear what the difference between a general relation is and a function. Relations are any set of ordered pairs. Functions are a set of ordered pairs, but where every x value maps to exactly one value of y. There are no repeated x values, so you can't have a single x value going to multiple different y values.